Hello Internet, we're back again for video number 3 and hopefully the last one of the building bits and pieces of it. I have let this dry overnight since the last time you saw me, and I've just off camera gone round the very edges of the body with some more sandpaper. You can see it's created a like a faux binding kind of thing, which is what I want. I used one of the sanding blocks, one of the flexible ones, to do that. And if I was going to do it again, I think I would just use a piece of paper with my finger to apply a bit more of constant pressure, localized pressure. That's probably the best way to describe it, because it's created a bit of fade in some places, just where I couldn't get the pressure really even, and some of it is, you know, ever so slightly thicker or thinner than other spots, but it's okay. I like it, and having done this now to the dark top, I quite like the contrast that it gives. It's quite nice. It's only a thin strip, if you will, of faux binding, but I quite like it. Anyway, today we're going to start with getting some finish on it. Tru-Oil is the finish of choice for this particular instrument. I've never had a guitar with an oil finish on it before, so that was kind of my rationale behind picking this. I don't really have the space or any like extraction to do any proper spraying. I don't have a compressor or anything like that. I've used aerosol cans of lacquer and things like that in the past, so maybe if we do another one of these, we'll do that. But today we're doing some Tru-Oil. And it says to just apply either with a rag or with your fingers. So I'm going to presume that it's non-toxic. So that's absolutely fine. And directly from the bottle, which I've seen a few people do on the internet, and they've literally just poured it straight onto the instrument and rubbed it in. Now, if you haven't seen anything like Tru-Oil being used before, it's not going to give an immediate glossy finish like lacquer or nitrocellulose would. It's going to need quite a few applications, and it's going to sink in, and then it's going to build up layer upon layer upon layer. And however many layers we do, the glossier and shinier the whole instrument is going to become. So we'll go for, I'm going to aim for 6 layers over the course of the next couple of days, and we'll assess from there, basically, I think. Let's get the first one on anyway. Let's get it poured. I don't know how far it's going to go, so we'll be steady to begin with. Get it rubbed in there. It doesn't go that far, but we do want to try and get it evenly coated, I suppose. It's got an interesting smell to it. There you go. I'm actually applying a bit of pressure just to try and get it in any open pores or bits that I haven't managed to sand completely flat. But it'll be interesting to see what it does to the colour and the quilt of the maple. So it's a bit of a 50-50. Obviously the front bit I haven't done yet. Let me swing you round, because you can't really see what's going on looking at the monitor there. So let me swing you around and you'll be able to see. Okay, there we are. So a bit of an A-B comparison. You can see the depth of colour is different on the area that I have applied some already and the bits that I haven't. So that's a good start, because that was one of the things that I was a bit concerned about, was that we weren't going to get the depth of the figure, but it looks like we might be okay. I'm just going to keep doing this. And the whole guitar is going to be finished in this. The back and the body and everything like that, because I've not put any sealer on or anything, so it needs something to seal it all in and protect from, you know, moisture and temperature changes and things as much as possible, because it's wood after all. Let's get a bit more on the back here. There we are. Okay. I'm going to go for a couple of coats to begin with. I've seen a few people do this on YouTube where they've got to a point where it stops soaking in for the first coat and it kind of saturates as much as possible, which I think is a good idea. So a bit like that. So I'm using the reflection of it being wet, and I can tell from here, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but I can tell from here that when I move it around, I am actually moving it around. It's not sinking in. So I think that will be fine for a first coat on the top there. Let's just grab a clean bit of rag and try and take off any excess. There we go. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay, a bit of lint there from one of these t-shirts. So we'll see how this goes. It says to leave for 2 hours at least before you do any kind of buffing or anything like that. We're going to do the rest of the guitar. Yeah, it's almost touch dry now already. We're going to do the rest of the guitar, and then we're going to leave it for a couple of hours, and then we're going to do another coat today, and we'll see what kind of gloss we can get from it. Okay, it's been a couple of hours since the first coat. Let's get a little bit more on it. And we'll basically just try and repeat the process, I think. And get another, let's get a better bit of cloth than that. There we are. Just going to repeat the process. Get it until it won't soak in anymore, until it starts almost pooling on top. And then I think it'll be a case of leave it until the morrow. When I came back to it just now, and you can probably see, it started to get, you know, a satin finish on it. And that's the idea, is just to keep building it up until it goes from being like a matte finish, where there's no reflection at all when we finished with the colour, to satin, kind of like it's going now, there's a bit of reflection, and then hopefully in a while, in a very long while, a good couple of evenings, we'll have something that can be polished, and we'll end up with a nice glossy finish. That's the idea anyway. Okay, I've not got it propped up on this box for any other reason other than hopefully you guys can see a bit more of a better angle of what it looks like as we're going along here. This is one of the most, apart from when the colour went on, where we're going to see the most amount of visual change. So I'm really interested to see, you know, what we can achieve just by doing this. Okay, so it's been about a week, maybe a bit longer. This is the finish that we have managed to achieve so far. So this was, like I did a couple of days ago, a good coat, get it saturated so it's pooling, and then take the excess off the top with a clean bit of cloth. And then once I'd done that twice, I spent the day with it sat in a box like this, so nothing could touch the table that it sat on. And then in the morning I'd get up, do a coat on top, on the headstock end as well, and then at the end of the day I would flip it over, do the back and the sides, and the neck too. So it kind of had the day to dry on the side, and then, you know, like 12 hours or so, flip it back over, do the other side, and repeat the process for about a week. So this is where we've got to, and you can see if I get the light just about right, I mean it's shiny, but it's not mirror smooth. So that is the next step. We're going to need to do some wet sanding, more sanding, because we love sanding by this point in the process. Wet sanding this time, and we're going to start with 600, and we're going to go, there you go, 600, and we're going to go all the way up to, which is a bit overkill probably, but 2000. So it's going to be a long and arduous process, but this is the bit I'm hoping is going to make it really pop out. So wet sanding. So that didn't go to plan. The main issue is that I think I've treated a Tru-Oil finish much like I would if it was hard lacquer on a car, or any kind of like aerosol with a hardener, whether that's 2-part or whatever. And either I didn't have enough coats of Tru-Oil, I applied too much pressure with my wet sanding, or a combination of both. Or the third possibility, I just didn't give enough time for the Tru-Oil to kind of like harden and go off. So we've done it all again, basically. We've got back to where I was, plus a few extra coats of Tru-Oil just in case. It's now a significant number of days from the last bit of footage that you've just seen, but I've taken a bit of a different approach this time. So in between each coat of Tru-Oil, use some really fine steel wool just to keep it flat every single time that we've done it, and that seems to have worked out quite well. I don't know whether me going all the way back to 2000 with wet and dry and wet sanding every single coat has kind of been maybe an unnecessary step, but actually quite a good, have another happy accident on this particular kit project, because obviously the surface that I was putting it down onto, the Tru-Oil, was really flat, really smooth, and it seems to have gone on the second time better. Now I did polish it just to see if I could bring anything back, but there was no joy. So Had to wipe it all down a couple of times with some white spirit just to try and get any residual oil polish back up off the top of the wood, and then start again and again and again and again and again. Repeat the process basically. So I've cost myself a good few days worth of time there. However, this is how it looks at the moment. I'll pick it up in a second, and I have just finished giving it the first coat of its, or the first application of its polish. So using the same polish that I was going to last time. I've not used a microfiber this time, well, sort of. I've had these for ages, and I've had them since I used to have cool cars. That's a long story for another day, but I used to polish them, and I've had these for ages. They're just from Amazon, and they're just microfiber polishing pads that you use by hand, like what you might put on the bottom of a polishing machine, but it's designed to be used by hand. And they've got a really cool Velcro handle thing, so you can not have to hold the thing, and it helps with getting even pressure. Anyway, done the first one, and this is the result. If I get it so that kind of the lights above me there are getting a bit of a reflection, it's not bad. It's pretty good. And on the back is a similar kind of story. That mahogany's come up really nice with that particular dye, that stain, that wine red. The neck is similar. Obviously, it's a bit lighter because it's maple. And I just put a couple of coats of Tru-Oil on the Jatoba fretboard just to try and darken it up a bit. It's added a bit of a satin sheen to it, which is fine, but it has darkened it up a bit, so now it looks a little bit less like a lighter wood. Obviously, the whole thing is quite a dark aesthetic now, so that suits a bit better. So it's not finished. It could be. I could leave it like that if I was so inclined, but we're going to keep going. So these little pads, a different one for every single compound. We're on the second one now, and this is something that I used to do in terms of car polishing back in the day, ages and ages and ages ago. And the secret with things like this, I find with cars, is you need to, well, I suppose, or anything where you're polishing, keeping it fairly even is fairly important, and not just going with like a dry pad, if you see what I mean. How important this is on an oil finish, I don't know, but I've had good results with other things in the past, so just try and rub a bit in the pad is what I generally try to do. Make sure the product you're using isn't going to hurt your skin or anything like that. Applicator of choice, pick out any dog hair, of which there's some in the finish. Great. And then once you've got your pad sort of there, I'm going to stick a bit more. There's not quite enough on there from what I want. That's a bit more like it. Is to dab it over the whole area, your whole working area that you're going to be going over. Just to make sure that you're not getting loads of polish in one bit. The pad will carry some around, but a fairly even thing is what you want. So away you go, basically. Like a decent bit of pressure. If I was doing this on a car with a machine, I would let the weight of the machine holding it down to be the sort of pressure that I would be using. But for this, a little bit of pressure with your hand, because that doesn't weigh anything as much as like a DA polisher would, and go to town. Go to town. So we're going to do this across all of it, because the whole thing is ending up with a bit of a loss. Initially, I kind of thought maybe a satin finish on the back of the neck is better for playability. That's kind of what I've had from manufacturer delivered guitars before, but you know, not had a gloss one before, I don't think. So I'll see if I get stuck because I've got sweaty hands or whatever while I'm playing, then maybe we'll change that in the future. But for now, all gloss all the way over apart from the fretboard, and then buff it off with a microfiber, your excess, and we'll see how we go. So we'll check back in shortly, see what kind of result we've got from the second stage. All right, there you have it. So that is all 3 stages of polishing compound from Dartford's, same as the stains, and that is the result that we've ended up with. It's got bits in it in the finish. I think that's a combination of the bits of t-shirt that I've been using, maybe linting out just a little bit as I've kind of applied stuff in, but also we're doing work to the house at the moment, so there's dust and stuff going around. So if you were to pick this up off of a shelf in a shop and go, I don't want that one, can I have the next one please, you would be well within your rights to say that, because it has bits in it. There's a bit of a run that you may or may not be able to see on the headstock, and there's a couple of other imperfections. Basically everything that you don't want to see on a professional finish. This has one of everything, but as a first attempt, well, maybe I'm just being really nitpicky, but as a first attempt at hand finishing, I'm pretty happy with it, pretty chuffed. It's really nice, I think, or a really good result for a first go. It is nice and smooth. The bits in it are underneath the surface, so and the neck is really nice and smooth. I've managed to get away with somehow with the neck not being any kind of bitty, if you want. How I've achieved that on the neck and then not on the rest of it, I'm not quite sure, but that's the main bit that really needs to be properly smooth, doesn't it, I suppose? So that's good. So the next step then really is to get some hardware in it, I suppose, and start making it look something like a guitar. So bridge first and tune-o-matic piece first. Stop tail and tune-matic, bridge, stop tail, I don't know. The middle bit and the end bit here first. Get our 2 1st and 6th strings on, because then we can actually locate our pickups properly. I'll show you what I mean by that in a little bit, I suppose. But let's get some bits out of the box and start fitting them to the guitar. It's exciting! So we don't have a rubber mallet on hand, which would be my preferred way of tapping these in, but we've got a relatively small lightweight hammer and a block of wood to try and tap these in with. So one on top of the other and gently tap tap tap. Let's give it a whirl. Aside from getting a bit of dust on it, that's gone nicely, and that still adjusts well, so we've not ruined the threads in that, which is good. Let's do the other. I could do with going down a little bit more. Just tighten it up again so we don't ruin the threads. There we go. That's seated nicely. And they both still work. Yeah, that's good. So what we do need to do before these go in is bring through the earth wire, because that's just going to be sandwiched between the body of the guitar and one of the stop tail pieces for our electronics. So I might put the pots in next. Okay, so we've got pots and we've got a toggle switch in. Had to put the toggle switch in as well because it's all part of the thing. I'll show you in a minute what I mean on the back. Annoyingly though, with the way that the back of this body has been routed, I kind of wanted the toggle switch to act in this direction, and it's kind of like it's 90 degrees up there. There's not the room in the cavity at the back, but maybe something to look at for any future kits. Get some extra routing in the back there. So the earth wire had the most minuscule amount of wire or insulation stripped away from it. There was only a teeny tiny bit of actual wire sticking out, so I've had to just strip that back a little bit using Nature's wire strippers. So It's literally just going to be a case now of kind of tuck a bit over the side there, make sure it pinches, and then it should drive down and stay connected quite nicely. So let's get this in, the good old trusty bit of wood, and the hammer again, and the other one, and then we can think about strings and then pickups, which is going to require some drilling, but oh, it's really exciting, it's coming together. Oh! Okay, we're all in. The holes for the bridge itself were not parallel. That's just how they've come from when the kit has been made in the factory, I suppose. The tolerances weren't quite there. So if they imagine they're sticking out rather than being parallel, it meant that when the bridge goes to slot onto the top of the two posts, it wouldn't quite go. So what I did was raise one of them as much as possible by unscrewing it as much as possible. I'll use the screwdriver so you're not having focus issues there. Use a screwdriver to raise one of the posts as much as possible, and that allowed the bridge to kind of sit on one of the holes and then slot down on the other, and then gently but firmly screw the post back down again, and then a little bit of encouragement with the hammer and the block of wood just to make sure that it sits all the way home, which it does. Both of them do move still. You just have to be nice and firm. It feels like it's been kind of, I don't think it is, but it feels like it's been deliberately made like that when you go to adjust them, because it's really nice and smooth and the action on them is really nice and firm. No problems at all with the stop tail piece. That sits on exactly as you would expect it to. So the next thing is to go up the other end of the guitar and do the potentially scary bit, if you weren't confident with a drill, of putting some holes in the back of the headstock and getting some tuners on, and then we can work out where our pickup position needs to be. So I'll see you at the other end. So headstock end, got 5 of them in already. Just show you what the last one looks like. You've got a tiny washer and a threaded tube with a nut on the end of it, essentially. Just pop the tuning head on. It's not attached to the back of the headstock yet. You don't want to do that first, I wouldn't imagine. And then washer with the threads going down, and just gently wind on, and then it'll kind of clamp there. The trick with everything with a thread, of course, is to be really gentle with it, and if it doesn't feel like it's just going in nice and easily first time, then stop. You've probably cross-threaded, so the two bits don't interlink properly, the bits that you're joining together. And if you just continue to power through with that, ask any mechanic that's ever had to deal with idiots and windy guns and wheel nuts. It's a proper nightmare to replace. So none of them have been screwed in yet, but what I think is probably wise is to get them all, nicely finger tight on the headstock, and then we can go around and use our eyes or some sort of measuring tape or device to get all the tuners nice and even, and then we'll start thinking about drilling some holes. Right, so we've got some teeny tiny little screws to locate these tuners. The idea is that I think they don't allow the tuners to rotate. They're not there as a structural part of the tuner itself. That's what the big nut on the back is, or on the front, I should say, that we've just installed. They're going to sandwich the two halves of these together. Now, the real critical bit with anything wood, or any material really, is we don't want to blow through the other side. So, when we're using a drill bit, so I get some tape, or any way of marking the depth of what you want to drill to. So, if I might be able to see, you might be able to see on that bit. There's no risk of going all the way through and ruining our nice, lovely finish. I find that the depth of your drill bits with anything like this want to be ever so slightly shy of the depth that you're going to. Don't know whether you can see that or not, but basically I'm not drilling a hole all the way as deep as the screw wants to go. Just allow the screw to just do its last final bit by itself. As long as it's not anywhere close to the underside of what you're drilling through or screwing into, that will be absolutely fine. And that'll just allow it to get a nice little bit of purchase at the very end. And that's always worked for me whenever I've been doing anything in metal or wood or plastic for that matter. It's all the sort of the same thing. So I think I'm happy with our location on our tuning pegs, tuners, whatever you want to call them. So nice and steady, kind of away you go. Let's give it a whirl. Change of plan. I've taken the machine heads out. Some of you were probably shouting and screaming at me there, going, "Take those out before you do anything." Not because we could have damaged them or anything, but they were in the way a lot, and it was, I was a bit worried that it was going to make the tape on my drill bit ride up the drill bit, and then all of that careful planning that we did to mark out where our tape and our drill bit's going to go would have been for nothing. But we've got 6 marks. Maybe use a Sharpie or something, I don't know. But the way that we've done that is we're given us 6 nice marks so that we can now get to where we want to without fear of obstruction and get our pilot holes in for these screws. So round 2, let's do it. Cool. 6 holes. Okay, cool. 6 holes. So, let's get them drilled in. Fucking start again. Like, try and talk like you're a normal fucking person, douchebag. In case you didn't realise, edit, Chris. We're going to cut that last bit out. Alright, 6 holes, 6 tiny screws. This is a PZ1 head for your screwdriver, drill driver, or other preferred method of screwing. None of that. So, basically, repeat previous steps, add screws into wood, we've got tuners. I'll see you on the other side. All right, that's 6, well, 5.5 screws in the back of the headstock, holding those tuners in. I say 5.5 because it turns out that these screws are softer than a soft thing. Insert soft analogy of your choice, but you can probably see, if we can get it there, that this one, the head snapped off as we were getting to the final stages of tamping it down. If you were the last couple of rotations were a bit too much for that one. It's managed to snap off inside the collar, if you will, for in there. So it's still acting basically now as a locating pin, but because the other side of the machine heads with the threaded parts clamp from the other side, it's not going to go anywhere when that's there, and it is going to stop it rotating. So it's not the end of the world. If I was really picky, I'd go and grab another screw, which I probably will do from some point. Maybe we'll have a few spares in the kit when we're done, and we'll see about pulling that out with some pliers or something like that. But for now, if you really aren't bothered about that, put some black Sharpie on it, and it'll be hidden. So we'll get the other bits on the front done, and then we can do some strings and some pickups. All right, so we've got pickups in place, sort of roughly. The reason why I haven't screwed these down, the reason why we're doing the thing that we're going to do next, is because there is wiggle room in the cavity. So if we were to just screw these down willy-nilly and then put some strings on it, we might find that the strings don't fall perfectly over the poles for the magnets in these pickups. So that's why we need to do what we're about to do. And the idea is we get number 1 and number 6 up to the machine heads. They don't have to be in tune, they just need to be where they are when they're going to be where they are. And then we can then mark or drill our holes and screw these pickup rings down. So we've got some strings on, and I don't know how well you guys can see it because you're at an angle and I'm looking top down, but we're essentially right about where we want to be. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have seen and realised and probably shouted at me again that, Chris, your pickups are the wrong way round when I had them offered up last time, so I have switched them round, and now they are. The pickups themselves, I'm pretty sure, internally are identical, but the pickup rings are different sizes, so we're there. Now, I do know on some kits that the pickup rings, the underneath of them, are completely flat, so if you want to put them onto a carved top like this guitar is, then there can be a bit of a pain in the backside to get sorted. And one way that you can do that, which we don't have to do in this instance, which is really nice because they are shaped, is you put a piece of sandpaper over the body with the grain facing up, and then you can run your pickup ring backwards and forwards, and it will wear away the back of the pickup ring, and it will conform to the shape of the guitar that you're mounting them to. In this instance, we don't have to. There is a bit of a flex on this one, but the bridge chap is really well shaped to what we're attaching it to anyway. So we'll get away with it in this instance. But we are in position there. I am going to hold it somehow, some way. I know the pickup itself is kind of floating on a spring, so this isn't the best way of holding it, but maybe some tape or something. But let's get some holes drilled. And there we are. Some screws. And we'll have some mounted pickups. We can work out where that hole's gone there. Yeah, we're in. You don't want to see this. I'll come back when we've got some pickups in properly. And there you have it. Some installed pickups. These strings won't be staying on it. They came with the kit. I suspect they will be the cheapest guitar strings ever made. We've got some proper ones to go on shortly. So really, all that's left apart from restringing with some proper strings, there's springs in there, but these are not springs, is to hook up and connect the pots and the output jack. Drill some holes for that and plug that in. Now, this is one of the good things about this kit, I think. How detrimental it is potentially to the sound quality remains to be seen, but focus, there you go. The entire kit comes with pre-terminated stuff. So the output jack, it's the output jack, isn't it? Because the sound comes out, the signal comes out of the guitar. The output jack, this thing, and the pickups come with pre-terminated blocks, which is really nice. So I presume that's similar to what the EMG soldered us kits might be. I've never seen one of those or two of those in person, so not entirely sure about that, but I presume that's what it is. So we've got some pickups there, and then we can work out which one is which for the three-way selector, because I didn't remember or take any photos, and the diagram that I've got with the kit is in black and white, so we can't remember which one we've done. However, we can look at the switch itself and say that which one is going to which wire is going to which side of the switch, so we can have the appropriate thing. and we've got that wire going to the top of the switch and this wire coming to the bottom of the switch, and we have this wire, I believe, is the neck pickup. Yep, so these two will go together, and it simply should be, in theory, no. Well, it's a good job I guess a good job I checked that, because we've got male and female connectors here. So that's gonna go, just click push together. That's gonna go just push together. As simple as that. There's a little bit of extra length on these wires than I would perhaps like. Maybe we can push these back a little bit just to tidy everything up, but then we've only got one more, and that is going to be for our output in here. So that's nice and simple and easy. So I will drill. They've even bent the output jack to fit the shape of the body, which is really nice. The plates, the mounting plate, which is really good of them. So I'll drill 4 more holes, put in 4 more screws, click that together, and then we can drill the last couple of screws to fit the back cover on, and we'll hopefully have a working guitar. Well, there it is. Job is a good one, as they say. All strung, fresh set of Ernie Ball 10s, and minimal setup so far. Lots to do. It's buzzing from kind of 5th and downwards, but we'll let the strings and the tension and things do what it needs to do with the neck overnight, and then have a proper play tomorrow. The pickup switch works absolutely fine. I did get them the wrong way around, the wires, the first time round. So up here was the bridge and down there was the neck. So whip the screws out the back and swap them around again, and it's where you would expect them to be. Volume is in the right place. Tone works fine as well. So is the volume, I have to say. We've got some strap buttons on, and in the previous footage I still had the protective film over the top of the pickups, and then when I peeled the film off, they're not glossy. They're like a satin kind of finish on them, and they contrast against the nice glossy finish on there really, really well now. So there it is. It's apart from setting up stuff, it's done. I have plugged it in, and it works. First time. Really happy, really happy. Through the old PV 505 Mini, it sounds really good. You'll have to wait until the next video though to see how it sounds and listen to what it actually sounds like. Once I've got it properly set up, we'll go from there. So thank you very much for watching. If you like it, if it was of any kind of help to you, there's a like and there's a subscribe button just down there somewhere. If you wouldn't mind pushing those, that'd be really, really greatly appreciated. Let me know what you think of it. Did I do a half decent job? Should I have done anything differently? There's going to be thousands of people that will go, yes, you're an idiot and you should have done this. But for now, as a first go, I'm really, really happy with it. Thank you very much for watching, folks. See you for the next one.